Hey everybody, welcome to the Vented Out podcast. I'm here with the co-host Justin.
Hello.
And our good friend Chris.
Yo, yo.
And today's topic is going to be a vent session. And we are just going to be giving our opinions on social media and how it narrates your own life in a way and how it narrates your opinion. And we're going to go ahead and just get started with the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are just comparing their lives. They're, in a way, also being controlled by what they see on social media.
Right.
Right? And I think it's kind of a dangerous path because you're only seeing the highlights of the other people. You know, I look at your work and I'm like, man, Chris is traveling everywhere. He's doing all this. But then what people are not looking at is that he's also doing his day job. He's also working hard to make those videos and back. You know, I see your posts. You're posting like 3 a.m. and editing your videos. People don't see that, right? They only see the end result or the highlights we want to show it. Very similar to how sports nowadays, people that never watched maybe Larry Bird or Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain or, you know, all those people, and they're like, oh, I've seen the highlights. That guy was unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think you said it exactly right. It is a show, you know, in the sense of, you know, we present ourselves after so much practice and so much training, and then we finally can present ourselves to everyone, but they don't see what's behind the curtain, all the work it took. They just see the show that we give.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons I find it to be dangerous is because it can lead you off the rails, right? Like when you compare your life to someone else's and you automatically assume their life is better, you could also get into a little mental health thing, right? Where you become your own prisoner.
Yeah.
Right. And it's unsettling because social media is now the biggest thing you have. It's become a propaganda place, you know, where whatever they have algorithms where, you know, you ever get that recommendation, you're on YouTube or you're taught and like, how did I get this recommendation? Like, you know, 7 years later, right? And it's because it's picked up the algorithm of the things you like.
All right.
And it's crazy to me because they're becoming subjects to opinions without even knowing, right? Like if you're not going into something with an open mind, you're basically being lost in a sea of opinions.
Yeah.
And what you end up doing is you end up finding one boat or the other, and then you try to swim out of that ocean and you ride with that one boat. Yeah. You sail with that one boat, and it's dangerous, man, because it's dividing people it's dividing people in so
kind of
many
from
countries
themselves too. Yeah.
From themselves, from their family, from their everything. And the real reason I wanted to discuss this, and someday I hope we have, or not even hope, when we have a professional to talk about this stuff.
Right.
I want to be able to express our opinions right now because I don't want to take that away from the professional when we have them here. That is going to be their time.
Well put.
And social media, you look at Instagram, you look at Facebook, you look at Snapchat, it's also become a political thing now too. And you have these politicians, you have all these people that are trying to push their agenda. And all I'm saying is we've got to find a way to let it stop controlling us because, you know, everything we create, we're supposed to be the controllers. And I feel like people are becoming so simple-minded now because they keep on resorting to what they see on social media.
Right.
You know, and I've seen it myself because I feel like we're blessed to, in a way that we grew up in a generation where...
Oh, I say it all the time.
We didn't have social media, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in fact, they talk about like even the greats right now, you know, people are debating, oh, you know, LeBron says this or this person says that, Jordan would never say anything like that. And they get 10 times more scrutiny. And that's because the spotlight is on them. And I feel like on Instagram, everyone feels like the spotlight is on us, right? Like one person at a time. And so we're able to really push out our opinions. And what social media is able to kind of do is validate our opinion. Right, it's like there's got to be people that that agree with, no matter how radical my opinion might be. I'm gonna find someone that, and that's how like the little groups start. And when they start, they can be either great for the community,
Right.
or they become dangerous.
Like you
for
said,
the
that
community.
tribal mind. Yeah.
And because we're stuck in such a tribalism, right? Joe Rogan and all these other people, I'm glad that they bring it up to topic as well, because I feel like if opinions, open-minded opinions like ours, like Joe Rogan, like all these other podcasters are not out there, or people in general don't bring the attention to it, I think it's going a dangerous route, or dangerous path, mainly because the youth is so addicted to social media. Everything is based on your followers. Everything is based on what you're able to show.
Yeah.
The constant pressure of having to put out content, right? Even if you're trying to do something on YouTube, if you're not doing something on a daily basis, you're considered a failure because you're not getting monetized. You're not getting all this stuff. We don't generally care about that, because I feel like people that agree with us will eventually make us where we want to go. Right? We don't have to force anything. We're not trying to basically sell ourselves out. But what do you guys think? Social media, all right, just in our lives, like how much has it controlled our lives? Because, for example, for me, I know that when I was in my dark times, and sometimes we still go in and out of it. I don't think you ever really escape your darkness. You just learn how to control it.
Right.
You could become better at meditating, understanding,
Right.
and being able to really look at it in a third perspective.
Yeah.
Rather than being dwelled by it at some point. We've all had that. And I feel like in our generation, in the younger one, you see more and more people post about being depressed and everything, which is perfectly fine.
Right, but you don't want to self-destruct with a biased opinion of the world.
Yes.
That you've created in yourself. Yeah.
And so I was like that, where it was like, man, what can I do? How come all these people get to enjoy their lives? And I'm out here still struggling to...
Grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Right.
But grass is only greener where you could water it.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the thing people don't look at because they don't agree, or they fail to look at that because they're so stuck in comparisons.
Yeah.
If
you're too busy watching your neighbor wash their lawn or water their lawn. You're too busy watching them. Why is their lawn getting greener every day when you could simply just worry about your own?
100%. Like, in what way do you guys think like social media has personally affected you guys? Whether it's opinions, whether it's lifestyle, anything.
That's a deep question. Because like you said, we strived from the beginning. We come all the way from, I'm not sure what it was called before MySpace. It was like Zillow or Zoo something. I forget what the name was.
I didn't even know social media at that point.
Right. Yeah. It was a quick one. It was a quick one. And most of the kids, if they're even watching this that at a younger age, they wouldn't even know what MySpace was unless it was a joke or something. But for me, that was. When I got my MySpace, when I connected to the internet, it made me feel like an adult. It made me feel like I had transitioned from video games and stuff like that to just worrying about my personal profile. You got to put your own music. You got to do the background. You know what I mean? So that was significant to me in presenting myself to my friends. But like you said, I got to do it in the best way and take my time. The cool song that I didn't have any business putting on because I didn't make it. I didn't, you know what I mean? But I'm taking credit for it. I'm cool as this song and so on. You know what I mean? So I think it allows us to, like you said, create a almost second personality or a frontal personality, as they call it in psychology.
Yeah,
But
you definitely see all these people that they're being one thing on social media, and then they're
Yeah.
being completely different
Yeah.
people in real life. Rather
and that's okay as long as you're not indebted to any individual one.
correct.
Don't be multi-personality necessarily, but it's okay to be happy one day and sad another and excitable another, and but stick to your principles.
Yeah, and I feel like it's if you really think about it, like social media, because we did experience. I didn't get to experience MySpace.
Okay.
Facebook was the first thing I
Right.
experienced in terms of social media. I didn't really. I mean, I was there when MySpace was a big thing and all that stuff.
Right.
But the furthest thing I can remember is like even Facebook at the very beginning was literally self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was update your status, and that's all it was. Connect with friends, see what they think. And I think at that point, it just had the like button, right? It didn't even have all these different
Right,
emojis.
right.
It didn't have all this advancement it has right now. At that point, it was you could go ahead and just click and type what you want, and that is it. It was, in a way, Twitter before it was.
Yeah.
Before Twitter was anything, right?
Right.
Just opinion based. Yeah.
And then you see it once companies found out that they could actually advertise certain products and that they have a bigger reach on your youth. I think in a way, we didn't necessarily just grow up with social media. In a way, we were kind of cultivated by social media.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And that goes back to if you don't see this person driving all these cars, if you don't see this person being happy, if you don't see this person, doing something that is just amazing, then they must have a boring, dull, depressing life.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's cultivated that thought. I don't think I personally never thought of that about anyone or myself because I didn't ever have to think about that. And once you started seeing that more and more and more, and then you have these companies pushing their own little things that, hey, you could also achieve this success by doing this, by doing that. It became the cultivating factor. And now it's at the point where it is nothing but the cultivating factor.
Yeah.
If you're 10 and you don't have social media, you don't have a phone, you don't have this, you must have strict parents.
Right.
Right? That's the assumption they have at school. You're not cool enough.
You'll probably be made fun of. Yeah.
You'll probably be made fun of
Yeah.
because social media has taught us that.
That's how kids are, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's a dangerous path because everything is being taught through social media. And social media, in many ways, can be a great educational tool, right?
Totally.
Like YouTube is a great educational tool. Khan Academy.
Yeah.
You have all these different, different channels that literally do educate better than some of the teachers I've had.
Yeah. I mean, literally us right here. And like you said, you've got your podcast as well. It's all just information and knowledge, That's what it's all about.
YouTube University. That's how I started my photography and video page.
That's amazing.
And-
So there's absolutely positivity to be brought from social media.
Yeah,
It's all
I
about where you
mean,
go.
when I was still doing my undergrad degree, I remember Khan Academy. Like I'm not gonna say their name, but there was one teacher at my college, and she was the only one that teaches anatomy and physiology. And she, like some teachers do, they want to, in some way, have power over the class, where
Of course.
it becomes an ego thing.
Yeah.
And
Easily.
but I learned more about those subjects, through Khan Academy, or making our own videos and uploading them for the class, and teach to learn, right? And then you have videos that I forgot. It was recently found. There is one channel where it's just like it looks like like a Muppet, right?
Okay.
But and I'll Google it later while you guys are talking. And it's literally, it looks like it's a kid's video. So parents probably don't really look into it. They're like, oh, they're just watching that.
Right.
But it's teaching kids how to kill and how murder is okay. Like, and how to get away with it. How to kill parents and get away with it. Like, shit like that. You don't expect, but
Definitely
it is
not.
there.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It is
This
there.
is a reality. Yeah.
And that's the same thing with social media or like other forms of social media like Instagram, where it does have great people that should be able to motivate you. But then it also has these people you end up comparing yourself with because that's what you've been taught.
All right.
Right. Chris, can you think of any way that you think, social media has personally, I don't want to say affected you, but like shaped you? Have you ever been there where you're like, man, this person's life is so much better, or this person's life is that? Where it's basically made you question where you are in your life versus other people?
I have this amazing ability to turn anything that makes me feel that way into a challenge to better myself. So
Absolutely.
I know that's a rare trait because I have friends who don't do social media at all. And I tell them about, hey man, this is really cool videos on there. He's like, oh, I don't want to turn on my Facebook. They have one, but they don't want to visit. They just use it because they're in like a dance group or something. But then like
Got you.
they'll catch themselves browsing a little bit and they see people, having a great time or an ex-girlfriend with a new dude. I'm like, why are you still following her?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't want to delete her. And then he's in this weird position.
Yeah.
So now he doesn't even want to use Facebook because it's like he feels uncomfortable deleting people. Because I tell him it's what you make it.
Yeah.
Like social media is what you make it.
But it's almost like they know it's a self-destruction thing.
Yeah, he's
true.
he's accepted the fact that he knows those people aren't having a better life, but he
Right.
understands what it's doing. I'm talking about Wangadu in particular, but being that he's also a psychotherapist, he struggles with social network, and he's also done the research and realized that there is actually a high rate of people under depression due to everyone else looking like they're having a grand time compared to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I have
because
I have mean FOMO myself, fear of missing out. I say I got FOMO like a fucking mofo because it's a very real thing, and it's spread from childhood almost, being the youngest kid and so on, and missing out what the older brothers or the parents are doing, and the older brothers with their friends and so on. So it gives you a sense of the fear of missing out because it's like, well, if I don't, I won't have that same happiness. If I don't do what they're doing, or if I don't go with them, or if I don't. But you just need to stay in your own lane, and everyone will start looking at your lane. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. Because, like you guys said, that whole depression thing, and I also fully believe that's why depression is such. I'm gonna call it a pandemic, right? It is a global thing right now, and I believe no matter how much attention we are bringing or awareness we are bringing to it, it's never enough.
Right.
Because it is so common, and
Right.
it doesn't mean that it's just depression. I'm also talking about people that don't necessarily they're not diagnosed with depression, but they're definitely putting themselves down,
Yeah.
right?
Well, like you'd said a lot in the Punjabi culture, you'd said a lot of the people don't necessarily believe in, if you want to call it that, depression. You're not allowed to be
Yeah.
depressed.
Yeah, so they don't know what to call it. They're just not satisfied with their life,
Right.
and that unsatisfaction could really, really quickly turn into addiction, right? Like, I was talking with a friend today, and we were talking about it. And we're like, you ever look into it, especially in minority cultures, people that don't know what depression is, or let's say they grew up in a household and they're controlled, not restricted.
Yeah.
Restriction and control are two separate things. I feel like restriction is you can say, hey, Chris, 8 o'clock, that's it, right? Now, if you're not, you got to be home by 8. If you're later than 8, you broke the restriction, there's a consequence.
Right.
Right? That's me setting up a restriction.
It's most parents.
Control is you're not allowed to leave the house. Right? There are certain cultures where it's like,
especially for females.
Yeah. You cannot leave the house because it's just not done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not even a minority culture thing. It's you see it in all cultures.
Yeah.
Where, like you mentioned, especially with females, it's like, no, you can't go out, whether it's a lack of trust or you're just afraid of what other people will say.
Right.
That is control. And
stemmed by fear.
Yes. Yeah. Restrictions, not bad at all. I think restrictions are great. It teaches the whole cause and effect where you're given instructions. If you break them, there's going to be a consequence for it. But then you will know what the restriction or control is. Just there's no way out of it, right? And when we have someone to interview about this later, which is scheduled, we'll explore more about it. And I feel like when you grow up being controlled, let's say social drinkers, right? We all have friends that say we just socially drink. And I've personally seen people that were controlled growing up, and he was just a social drinker. They were just social drinkers.
I think we all started that way.
Yeah. And then, but because he never, some people can be social drinkers to be themselves. But I think the problem is when people can only be themselves when they're loose drinking.
Yeah.
Right? And so some people that are growing up controlled and they don't know how to be their true selves unless they're intoxicated by something where they let go of that control that they grew up with.
Right.
Okay. So this person would socially drink but because there were mental issues that weren't very deeply and, routed.
Right.
That had roots in the brain that they would only be able to really forget about when they would be socially drinking.
Right, because they weren't addressed properly. Right.
It turned into alcoholism because they enjoyed the freedom.
Yeah.
But they never fixed that problem. So I could tell them that, stop drinking.
Right. You have a problem. You can tell them all
Hey,
that.
you know what? They could step away. They can stop drinking tomorrow.
I've seen it.
But that doesn't mean that they fixed the problem.
Right.
The root is still there, right? And they don't know how to address it. They don't know what it is because they grew up in a household.
Yeah.
Where
I've actually seen that a lot.
Where it's not accepted, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Depression doesn't exist. Anxiety doesn't exist. You're just weak-minded.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it comes down to. That's what they're told.
Yeah.
And so because they don't know what depression and anxiety is, and even if they learn it online, it's just deeply rooted in their head, I'm stronger than this. Right? But we are not. I think you could be mentally strong to keep on going through it.
Right.
But you can only hold that anchor so far until it does drag you down to the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
If you don't get rid of that anchor, if you don't find what that problem is, it doesn't matter how strong you are, man. I fully believe that one day you are going to have to address it. The sooner you can address that mental block, whatever it is, the faster you'll be able to swim freely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And like you said, you can start turning these issues into challenges.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I feel like when you're talking about depression, you're talking about this, and it's deeply routed from the whole social media aspect to some people that are growing up, and even if they're not controlled, my point was, if you're grown up comparing yourself or holding yourself back in some capacity, because it doesn't even have to be like, some people have the best parents and they still turn out to be monsters.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen that with serial killers. We've seen that with all these people. We've seen it in
Biden's son recently.
Calm down there. I did not want to get that political. But yeah. But the people we know, they may have the best. We see the sides of our people or the friends we have that their parents, their families do not.
Right. Usually, yeah.
And sometimes that part is not always good.
Yeah.
Even if they have the best family. And I feel like it's because at some point they developed some type of self-doubt, some type of an anchor for themselves.
Yeah. Well, because usually you're supposed to be allowed to be vulnerable.
Yes.
With your family, at least. So it'd be difficult to show your most vulnerable, as long as it's not too strict of a family. And so, of course, there's many other cases, but you're supposed to be able to be comfortable with that.
Even if you have the best family outcome and you create that social, like I said, we're talking about social media, depression caused by social media. So depression in general has become such a big thing. Mm-hmm. No matter how much we talk about it, it's never enough. And I feel like with social media, it's amplified. It's like you're at you have a stereo system and then you add an amp.
Yeah.
Like you have a higher amp and then it's going to be louder than ever.
Yeah.
And when you do that with social media, you're already, probably even before social media, you're already probably like, man, Justin's got a great life.
Right.
And I'm already failing. But then social media, you see Justin was here. You see Justin was there, man. Well, how come I can't do that? Like, it just...
And you should never have self-doubt like that.
And then you create that self-anchor.
Yeah.
And you begin to drag yourself down. And I think social media,
And you're right about it becoming kind of like an addiction as well. I had a buddy just today actually tell me there was a great comparison. This fellow, someone had asked him, how can you be addicted to something? I just don't understand where you can get this, constant hunger of this drug or whatever it is from. And he said it's kind of like put your phone in your pocket and don't touch it and don't think about it and just allow yourself for the rest of the day to not touch it. You're going to be constantly itching to grab that phone. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a popular person with social media and it's constantly going off ringing. Your phone ringing, that's addiction.
And again, that's a whole
it's
social
the same
media
thing
narrative.
as drugs, in a sense.
Yeah. Social media has become a drug.
Yeah.
It's how some people, like,
you
if they don't post something on it, they feel like they feel unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Right? They feel like they've missed out on something.
Yeah. But it's totally a state of mind.
We have so many people that claim to be, you could, I want to become a millionaire and not have a job and not do this. And I just want to live that life. I want to be like Dan, what's his name? Bilzerian, or the poker player in Las Vegas, where on his Instagram, he doesn't have a day job and stuff like that. And it's cool. Some people do end up having a life like that. Yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you have to look at the realistic chances of achieving that lifestyle. Like, was that Elon? I forgot who it was, but their like successes were skill meets luck, right? Like,
absolutely.
You have to have a talent. You have to have a skill.
But you have to understand other people have talents and skills as well.
Yeah.
So you need some luck.
You need some luck. You need that one opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Like for us, for example, on this podcast, we're throwing darts out there.
Yeah.
And all it will take is one person to come through that probably has a bigger platform. Mm-hmm. And then more people will find us.
All right.
I feel like that's a goal. I mean, that's not like the main goal of this channel. I'm just saying well,
the main goal is to reach as many
yes.
people that need the help as possible. So
right.
Yeah,
and so eventually someday, right now we got 25 followers. maybe, you know, 100,000 will happen that one interview.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, quantity over quality as well, though. Or
So-
quality over quantity, excuse
Yeah.
me. We want quality over quality. So people that genuinely need and want the advice to listen to just a voice, you know, of don't want to say of reason because we're not always the most reasonable people in the world. You know, we're still humans as well. But if they just need to hear the subjects talked about, vented out, then
Yeah.
we're here for them.
Yeah, and I like how you did that. Right? No, I really am concerned for the young generation,
Yeah.
which is why I want to talk about, or, you know, because we are the future.
Yeah. And this comes from
Younger-
two people that don't have kids as well.
Yeah.
But we still care
The
just as
younger
much.
generation is the future as well.
I'm not sure. Do you have any children?
Not that
No.
I know of.
Right on. Right on. Maybe a few out there.
Um,
That was great.
all right. Because I am a little worried, right? Because
Yeah.
I want to live a long life,
Absolutely.
and we can't have that if we end up destroying it. The generations that are there right now,
Yeah.
that are in power right now, not saying that they're incapable, that they're dumb or
Right.
anything like that, but also I feel like when you lived your life for 40, 50, 60, 70 years as the way they have,
Okay.
it's harder for them to realize what needs to be changed versus the up-and-comers. We understand, right? Like,
Yeah.
we have generational differences. Our generation understands. The next generations understand that we are born at a disadvantage and that the economy is bad.
Yeah.
Gas prices are high. We don't exactly have the best people in power. Not saying all. We do have some great people, I'm
Right.
sure, that were voted by that. But then we also have people that are so divided now. Our generations know the difference. The generations before us, I do believe they saw black and white, right? They only saw that you could be one thing or the other.
Yeah.
I'm glad that generations now see that there is, or recognize there is, a gray area, that there are different venues for each career. Right before it was, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer,
Right,
you gotta be
right.
an engineer.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, you don't have to. In fact, that was one of the things I was talking with DJ Mali and DJ Hans, right? Like, two guys in my culture that have done it without a degree, right? They're DJ Hans is known global, right, for his music. DJ Mali, we've seen him in person. Great person. He's contributed a lot to the Fresno community.
Absolutely.
He's expanded
Many
his
a times.
And that's without a degree.
Appreciate you again, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in more ways than we can really say.
Yeah.
And in many ways, we've become aware. Our generations have become aware that there are things that were failures in the past, but I only pray that we don't get lost in them the same way our past generations did, where, we don't. I have high hopes that one day we will kind of get out of this whole tribalism thing.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like if we sit down and have a discussion, we probably have more stuff in common than we have against each
No,
other.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And
I think that's the greatest superpower right there, is what you just said, is hope. That's the greatest superpower
Yeah.
that we have in that sense.
And you
That's gonna
have,
keep
and
it stable
and
positive.
and when we have our kids, we, like the next generations, we have to teach them it's okay to have different opinions.
Yeah.
It's okay to have conversations. It doesn't always have to end it with a debate.
Right.
And I
Or
truly,
agreement of any
yeah,
sort.
exactly. You could agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
And with the whole social media aspect, it's preventing that. And we have to kind of go back to ground zero. And I hope the younger generation can understand that the social media, don't let it cultivate you. Don't let it form your opinion.
Yeah.
You could explore your own opinion through it.
Yeah. Let it be
Right?
a platform of inspiration, not of judgment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But don't let your opinion be what others are saying, what your favorite social person is saying. Have your own opinion. Explore that opinion, but also be ready, in case you end up changing your mind, because I see that, right? Like nowadays, you say, oh man, you keep on changing teams. You keep on changing your opinion. You said this before and now you're totally against it or whatever. It's like,
it's called growing.
Yeah. that happens in science all the time too, right?
Yeah.
There are theories, and then there are theories that are proven wrong.
Yeah.
And scientists constantly have to be open to changing their thinking of the theory.
Accepting being wrong when you thought you were right.
That's and with social media, it's we have to go back to step one, where it was generally just expressing our opinions or expressing our thoughts. And instead of comparing your opinion with mine, comparing your life with mine, let it be that your opinion could perhaps inspire me to explore.
Exactly.
Why you have that opinion.
Yeah.
Rather than getting defensive and being like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah. And it's kind of our intention for this podcast as well, is that exact thing right there.
Yeah. And it's, I don't want to bring it up, but James Webb, we were talking about it. They released the first few pictures, right? It's everywhere right now. It's on social media, and it's great.
Right.
I posted it on my Facebook, and I had a friend I knew from high school randomly put something along the lines. Basically, what he's trying to say is that space might be fake.
Yes.
Like, I'm trying to be as nice as I can about this conversation. And, I didn't want to say that you're dumb. I could have said that.
Right.
I could have literally said. But what I decided to do, instead of necessarily putting him down and being like that, I'm like, I try to kind of explain him, or to him rather. You have GPS. You have cell phones. You literally, NASA literally, and SpaceX literally have live camera on YouTube.
Right.
You could see the station, the space station. You could literally watch the Earth from up there, right?
You could get a giant balloon, fill it with helium, put your own GoPro on it, and get your own footage.
You don't even
of the Earth, if you really wanted to go that far.
You don't even have to. Okay, NASA probably has some movie production going on 24/7 for the camera. They probably have a little Earth on a string spinning
for the ISS and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all fake, right? Let's say they're putting this fake information out there.
Said that, right?
Okay.
Normally, people who think that there's no space, they also are these people that we call flat earthers.
Right.
We're digging this rabbit hole. All right.
It's very interesting. I actually don't know much about it. I just heard some theories of how you can tell from here on Earth that if we look at a certain distance at a certain altitude or whatnot, that you can see that the Earth is clearly fake. Not fake, but flat.
Right.
But space is fake. And yeah, I don't actually, that's all I know.
Well, okay, so they're two separate groups, but they also have common theories. So flat Earth, and I like that we're going off. We're literally venting about this. This is great. This is great. It turned it into something completely different. Flat Earth is mainly people. So if I go outside our studio right now and you look down the path, a flat earther would say you could clearly see that the horizon is evenly spread. Okay, no matter where you look, it's just evenly spread. You could look north, south, east, west, and it's the same everywhere. Therefore, the earth is flat, because if I was to keep on going straight, that horizon is going to stay the same, right? But
We're there. Just keep it going.
never mind the fact that we haven't encountered someone falling off of the edge or something like that, right? People just go missing driving to the edge of this flat earth.
The boat, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was, I love him, Neil deGrasse Tyson. They addressed it. There are certain altitudes in Manhattan, if you were to stand, you could literally see the curvature of the earth.
Right.
Well, when you're flying, you could literally see
Yeah.
the curvature of the earth.
My best example used to be just use a telescope. You can see the moon is round, Saturn's round. You can see every other planet, everything around us. The sun is round. You can see everything else is round. Why would we not be round as well? But if someone were to tell me I don't believe in space, then I can't answer that.
No. Let me go back to
Can't
that
answer
story.
that with my planets.
I never got to finish that story. This person then continued to say that, hey, man, you're intelligent and everything, because I talked to him. I'm like, do you understand the whole... Oh, yeah. He shared a picture of this one coastline. I forgot what it was. And the new nebula pictures they had from the James Webb telescope. I forgot which one. It starts with a C. And he's like, look, it just looks like they just colored this coastline in and added a little dots, and it looks exactly the same.
Mm.
Because he zoomed in, or the picture is zoomed in on this one part of the entire picture, and this one little part of the entire coastline, right? I'm like, do you understand the probability of infinity, or the infinite possibility of, like, there's bound to be someone who looks exactly like you in our own world.
For sure.
Right?
Doppelganger.
Like,
right.
it's just going to, we've all seen it, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
What, if there is like a little similarity, you're comparing pieces from an entire picture.
Right.
And that's fine. It's not fine that you want to believe that, but
At least you're digging into it. Yeah.
Believe that, like, you don't have to be a believer of science or an atheist or anything like that to believe in science. You really don't. You could pick and choose what you believe.
Right.
Freedom of your belief is great. I just encourage you to explore it. And so I'm telling him all this. I'm like, you have a GPS, you have all of this stuff, you have live TV.
Yeah.
And it's because we have things in space.
Right.
You could literally freaking see it on your phone. Like, where do you think, it knows where you're going?
Right.
Do you think there's a little android that's just following your car?
Well, plus it's like we've all been through this. We're over this. In ancient times, we had those
Why
thoughts.
are we still
moved
stuck
on.
at this?
Yeah.
It frustrates me. And the whole point of it was because he said, hey, man, you're an intelligent person. All I want you to do is just to listen to this podcast.
Engage with them? Yeah.
No.
Oh.
He said, listen to this podcast. He gave me the name of the podcast. And it's literally people
Can we say it
that
No.
that are just skeptic. And they are just questioning everything. They are just, they just want you to grow up believing this. They don't have any proof.
Right.
I'm like, science is proof. What more do you want? I'm like, and that's the power of social media. And that is the power of controlling your narrative, where we have these legit actual things.
Yeah.
You could fly in an
That's a
airplane.
good point, though. If you can convince someone that there's no space through social media, imagine what you can do politically with their minds.
I don't even care about politics. I'm just talking about
anything.
Like we said, controlling or cultivating your narrative.
Right.
Your opinion.
Exactly.
It's it could be useful if you're listening to the right people, or it can really destroy you if you fall into the rabbit hole where these conspiracy theorists, and again, conspiracies are not necessarily bad. Sometimes they can turn out to be true.
Absolutely.
But when you're ignoring all these facts simply because you agree with an opinion rather than a fact,
Right.
it is so dangerous. And we need to stop doing that we're giving our opinions right now.
Absolutely.
Whether you want to agree with it or not is 100% up to you. That is not.
Yeah.
We're not trying to push our
Not
opinions.
one
on
fact has
you.
been spit this day.
Yeah, I mean there are facts, but we're not professional in any of the fields that we've taught.
Right.
But we will have professionals that are more than welcome to fact check us.
Yeah.
And prove us wrong. maybe in the future, someone will prove that flat Earth is a true thing.
Maybe.
No,
It's true.
no.
I haven't been there yet.
But all these opinions we're giving them with the thought that if a professional comes down, sits with us tomorrow, and be like, "You're wrong," we're gonna explore the reasons we're wrong,
Right.
and we're willing to accept that we were wrong.
Absolutely.
You do not have to agree with anything and everything we say on this podcast. You don't even have to necessarily, agree with the professional because they might have a bias.
Yeah.
All we are trying to do is to educate you of these different possibilities, but we would like to present ones that do have proven facts, right?
Yeah.
Whether you take that education to advantage or not, we just want you to be able to really use it as a tool to learn from rather than making your opinion, right? Like we are not trying to have you agree with us on everything so that way your opinion is the same as ours.
Yeah.
You may disagree and that's completely fine. But you also need to start doing that with social media in general.
Yeah. Yeah. This
Because-
is meant for molding. It's for expansion.
And I can't stress it enough, man. The way everything is going with social media, people are getting divided. People are going back to tribalism.
Yeah.
We need to get better. And I don't mean just people on one side or the other. I mean as a collective group. We need to be able to have a conversation rather than a debate.
Yeah.
We need to be able to sit on a table like this and be like, you know what? Maybe you have a different opinion than I do, and that's okay.
Yeah. Because regardless, we all have a responsibility to make this planet better for the youth, for the future.
For the
at the end of the
future.
day.
And until we don't get that type of thinking in the
Yeah.
future to go to higher places, to go to these higher positions, it's going to continue being a mess.
Yeah.
So what can we do? Be better. Be open-minded. Don't be afraid to vent it out. And with
Absolutely.
that, we'll go ahead and conclude this episode, gentlemen. Anything you guys want to say or add on? If you don't, it's completely fine.
Good.
Thought it was beautiful.
We're good. Well, we have a lot more guests coming up soon. So, these vent sessions, we still like to keep them alive. We like to provide our own unprofessional opinions. We'll discuss everything and anything with professionals. We have people coming from all these different professions coming on, and I can't wait. We can't wait to show you what we have in store. So feel free to do, click the like button, subscribe, share it with the people that you think you might find this podcast helpful on.
Yeah.
And until next time, catch y'all later.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.